Pantoja.
Very good.
Sir, at what point in your life did you decide your passion was going to become your dream?
It was actually, my wife had left for a vacation with her friend, and I really just wanted to take good pictures of my daughter. So that combined with my father passed away in 2009, and the last thing I had to remember him by was just a tiny piece of video. So it was about 5 seconds long, right? So when she went on vacation, I called her and I said, I made a really stupid decision. And she's like, oh, God, what? And I said, I bought an expensive camera. At the time, I thought it was an expensive camera. It was a Canon T2i, not a very expensive one. At the time, it was. So I did it, and I did a video of my daughter, and then a lot of people said that they cried when they watched it. So I just kind of went on from there and just kind of kept going.
So for folks who don't know what your medium of art is and your artistic expression, can you describe it for us?
I don't think that I really have a good description of it. I can tell you that I'm surprised that it's embraced at all, because it's usually very, very different stuff. So I don't really know how to describe it. It's very dark. I usually try to tell a story with it, whether it's through video or photography. It usually has some kind of underlying meaning. And then with my videos, I usually write myself as one of the characters. Like, I'm not like in the video, but I am one of the characters. It's through my vision.
So for folks who are just tuning in, we have Antonio Pantoja in the studio. He is a artist extraordinaire. The mediums that I've seen him use is videography and photography, but he does so many other things. I think that those were the areas that I kind of noticed your abilities. But Amy, in looking at the photos that Antonio brought in, how would you describe it as an artist, you and his work?
I mean, they are dark, but everything. I stalk a little bit. I do stalk Antonio a little bit on Facebook, but all of his work I've seen is so amazing, and it's beautiful. I like dark, I like dark photography and videos and stuff. So all of his work to me is just amazing.
I can tell you that I'm average at best, and you guys can't see the images, but most people give me way too much credit, way more than I deserve. So just thank you for that, and thank you for people on Facebook and things like that.
Folks, he's absolutely being modest. This man has many, several awards. He's actually a shining star in Louisville. He's on his way to greatness, and we want to continue to support him in his endeavors. But Antonio, to stay up on your photography, filmmaking, cinematography, photography, things of that sort, how would folks go about that? Would it be Facebook, a website?
Facebook is a really good way. If you go to Google and you type in my name, just be very careful, because there's a guy who's I think he dresses in drag and does like acting and stuff like that. His name's Antonio Pantoja with an S. So be wary, because I posted that to my Facebook the other day, and it was pretty far down the list when I searched it on Google. So I get a pretty good amount of social engagement on Facebook. So I posted that, and I said, this is not me, and I thought it was funny. And then his page jumped right beneath mine, I guess because it got a lot of traffic since I posted it out there. So now, just don't search for Antonio Pantoja with an S. Drop the S, that's me.
Folks, this is Louisville Arts Live. We have in the studio Antonio Pantoja. That's Pantoja.
Yes, thank you so much.
So, folks, Google him. He's actually got so many great displays and exhibits of his work out there. I think the first time that I saw your videography work was a video that you shot for Lotus Blake. That was a great video. Can you tell us about that video and who you had involved with it and where you shot that at?
Thank you so much. Actually, it was with the Glass Tank guys, which are really, really great guys. And then, of course, the Lotus Blake guys are just crazy. Extremely talented artists, really fun to hang out with. So that's kind of just what we did. They had a really cool idea. We shot it at Meat, which I think is no longer a bar, but it's in Butchertown. It was a really, really cool bar, and our location fell through in the last minute. So I just went up there and I just asked Peyton, he's the owner, is it cool if we shoot here tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, totally cool. So we did. We shot there. Video was really cool. I don't really think there's a real baseline or story for it. It's just a crazy video, but it was a lot of fun, and those guys are really, really cool.
And what's the title of that video again?
Love is War. I've shot so many music videos.
Yeah, it is Love is War.
It's Love is War.
So what kind of camera did you shoot that on?
That one I shot with a Sony FS100. Actually, we just went through the kind of the whole gamut just a second ago. I've got a lot of cameras, though.
Well, I noticed in that video you had a lot of close-up shots and then a lot of panoramic. How do you put together a storyline for something like that? What's your motivation behind it? Are you looking at the artist, listening to the music, and then tapping into your creative?
Yeah, good question. So start to finish, I usually listen to the songs. I'll meet with the artist and things like that and make sure it's something that's a project that I'd like to take on because I want to do it justice. If it's something I'm really not feeling, then I really just won't shoot it because I don't want to do it like I want to do it the justice it deserves.
Sure.
So I met with him. I love the song, and then I probably listened to it 1,000 times before I meet with him the second time, and then we'll kind of go over the whole project. A lot of things fell apart in that one, but it still doesn't matter. It'll still be good in the end, as long as we execute and everybody comes, to do what they do best. So I'm really excited because I get to see those people on their very best day. Like if I did a video with Zach, he's got a video guy, but if I were to do a video with Zach, I'd be able to see him doing what he does best on his best day. So for me, it's a blessing. I'm really lucky to be part of that stuff.
Absolutely. So do you have any upcoming projects or things that you're working on that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I got a couple things here and there. I got the rights to a Stephen King movie a while back. One of my teammates was approached by someone who knew Stephen King, and it sounds like BS, but it's a true story. So we did the 48-hour film project. We did very well in there. We won a bunch of awards, which was really cool. And then we were approached by someone who knew Stephen King, or his office or something like that, right? So they approached Jason Jones. He's my writer, and they let us pick any screenplay that we wanted to. So I looked through about 120 of them, and I picked The Woman in the Room. It's a little bit more somber story. It's not as much scary as the other ones, so I thought that one would be a good fit for me because I'm really good at, I think my strength is pulling emotion out of people. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I chose that one, and then I kind of did a little bit more research on it, and I realized that, have you guys ever heard of Frank Darabont? He was the director on the first season of The Walking Dead. Well, he was actually given this opportunity as well. I love that show. Yeah, it's amazing. So first season was amazing, right? So he did the first season. He kind of dropped off after that, but he kind of went through that same process. He advanced through that process, and he was presented the same opportunity. He also picked The Woman in the Room, so he shot that. Stephen King loved it. He went on to do Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile.
That's awesome.
So just found that out like not long ago, but I just kind of need to get moving on it. A lot of things holding me up. I do a bunch of little projects here and there, publication stuff, and just fun editorial stuff, fun stuff.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, we have Antonio Pantoja in the studio talking about his amazing talent. We are live with Louisville Arts Live. We do this every Saturday at 3 o'clock. If you have any questions for myself or our guest today, please call in at 502-822-6116. Amy Boyette is co-hosting with me. I don't know what I just said.
I don't know what that was.
It was a stammer, I think.
Right.
And then we also have Zach Longoria Project in the studio. We're going to be listening to some great music with him. Antonio, how can folks stay up on your talents and all the awards that you're actually winning and continuing to win? What's that website or social media again?
It's so I own another company too, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's Glass Label, and I do a bunch of commercial work with my partner in crime, Clay Cook. He's an amazing photographer, video guy as well. So you can find us on Facebook, Glass Label, and then you can find me, just Antonio Pantoja, if you can get the spelling right. But if not, you'll probably come across the drag queen guy who does a lot of acting, and I think he does a one-man show. I don't know. I've never seen it, but you'll probably come across that.
If you get there, you've gone too far.
Yeah, that's not me.
And it's Pantoja.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about some projects that he's worked on. We've got some goals that he's working on now. But let's talk real quickly. You had a video that you did not that long ago with a friend of mine, well, a couple of friends of mine, Lauren Maxwell and then Shane Abel. But let's talk about that video. It was called Almost Home, and it was based, I guess, on the Moby soundtrack.
Yeah, it was for a competition. It was for this big competition on Gennaro.tv. So you could compete, and usually they have like 30 submissions for videos. On this particular one, they had like 213 or something. So I didn't want to get like lost in the abyss of all these videos. So we definitely wanted to be a standout. And when you hear the song initially, most people thought of it in like a literal term, like I'm just driving home or I'm taking a plane home. To me, it meant that almost home meant death to me. it meant. Like, and I'm a very dark guy. Like, not in presentation, I wouldn't say. You probably wouldn't connect the dots that these are my videos if you had to pick me out of a lineup. But I did one. I wanted it to be very dark, and it just showed a guy in an ambulance ride who's almost home, you know, theoretically, and then he has flashbacks of his life before with his wife. There was a couple elements that I wanted to add, but didn't, because I didn't want it to be too powerful for people and just be devastating. But like I said, I write my character in as something usually, and in this particular case, it was about my dad. So my dad died of a heart attack, 2009, very unexpected, and I wanted the same thing to be experienced through the viewer on this particular video. So it was just through my vision, I guess, how I saw it play out.
So is it safe to say that your artistic expression is directly correlated to some personal experience?
Usually. And I think this year, I've done a lot of photos that probably, they definitely tell a story. But going forward, I think in this year, I'm going to completely change everything. I'm going to really strip down everything. I'm not going to really use any lights or anything like that, because I'm very dependent on equipment. I don't want to have any dependencies. So I'm going to strip all that away and kind of move on forward and try to depend mostly on story instead of equipment, because I'm always like, what camera is that? What lens is that? What was shot? You know, what did you use to edit that with? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do any of that anymore. So all of my stories going forward are going to be personal stories, and even my photos are going to be very elaborate, something out of a movie.
So less post-production, so to speak, more...
I think it's probably maybe pre-production even, I'd say, because before I film it, I really want to get a good gist of, you know, the story, so it makes sense going forward instead of what I've previously done, where you kind of connect the dots, and most of my stuff is really crazy.
So what was that one project in your life? And folks, if you're just tuning in, we have Antonio Pantoja in the studio talking about his artistic expression, which is amazing. So check him out. It's Pantoja. Google him, and if you get the drag queen, you've gone too far.
He's getting a lot of pub.
Or not, maybe. Depends on the day.
The drag queen's getting a lot of publicity.
It was a crazy party.
A lot of pub. He's at home just like, yes, thank you, Antonio.
Yeah, really.
But this is Crescent Hill Radio. We do this show every Saturday at 3 o'clock. We are a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week radio station taking Louisville and regional talent 24 hours and 7 days a week to the world. So check us out at crescenthillradio.com. But Antonio, let's talk a little bit about your life and this body of work. And what was it, that pinnacle moment where you just realized that, hey, I want to continue on. This is something I'm good at, and you enjoy it, and make it a passion for your life?
I got quite a few messages of people who had been experiencing like issues in their life. So I have stories that I could tell you about mine personally growing up. I probably shouldn't have been a successful person in my life whatsoever, because I had a lot of things stacked against me. I've grown up in some pretty rough places, and very rough things have happened that most people probably wouldn't believe, I'd say. And if you want a story, I'll give you one, which I could probably get in trouble for, but I'll tell you some stories. I think it's that. So I think the ripple effect of somebody doing positive work can affect so many people. So me doing something good for myself on a selfish path, somebody else could be affected by that, and maybe they're, you know, let's say, for example, maybe they're going to kill themselves because, you know, they just don't feel like they meet a specific image or something like that. I just did a video similar that would confront something like that. And I got a numerous messages that people said, you know, thank you so much. I can relate to that completely. I was giving up hope and whatever. But it happens often, believe it or not. So just the positive, you know, you doing positive can, you know, the ripple effect of that can affect somebody so greatly. And, you know, while it seems to be a very selfish thing of us doing something positive, it's really not. Like, for example, Zach, he could probably write a song, and when he creates it, it's very personal to him. It's very about him. But when he releases this song, it becomes very personal to somebody else, and they make it about them. They say, this is the way that I interpret this song. Very cool.
Absolutely. And I believe that every artist has a responsibility to others to motivate and shine their light, because ultimately you're carrying your message everywhere you go. And Zach, you probably see that when you're performing out and getting other artists coming up to you and saying, you're doing exactly that what I want to do.
Emotional connection is the number one thing I think with our band, with any music that we write, is like trying to move and create to make your mood change to something else. And if you can do that with whatever your art is, I think you're doing something right.
Absolutely. Well, we all have stories, and so sometimes you just don't know the story of the individual that you're encountering. So
That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Antonio, let's talk about some upcoming exciting events you have in your life. Your creativity's flowing. You're very successful, and it sounds like your family's growing too. Is that the way I understand it?
Yeah, that's accurate. So I really, really wanted to have another baby. So I'm a married guy. I have a daughter who just turned 6 yesterday, and I really wanted another baby. I really did. And my wife did too. She'd asked me for years and years, and I would do anything for her, naturally. And for years, I was like, I really don't want another baby. So, and then I started thinking about it, and I said, well, she's been asking me this for years and years, and somebody who, loves her so much should give her anything, right? So I started to, rationalize it a bit more, and I said I couldn't imagine asking her for something for years and her just not doing it. So I started to rationalize it, and I started to see babies out, and my God, you will want one if you really, really start thinking about it. If you have one, if you don't have one, I don't blame you. But
Well, we're all family, men and women here in the studio.
I got 2 beautiful ones. I love them.
Oh, me too, man.
They're the best.
If it's a boy or a girl, I don't care. I really, really wanted another one. So I was just very proud when we found out the news and stuff. I had to hold on to it because she didn't want to release it until we knew everything was okay. So we released it on Facebook 5 or 6 days ago or something like that.
Well,
awesome.
congratulations
Thank
on
you
your
so much.
continued blessing.
Heck
It sounds like
yeah.
you got a lot of things going on.
Oh,
They're great.
Thank you so much.
You want to give a shout out to your daughter whose birthday was yesterday?
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Mia. Love you.
Happy
She's
birthday,
beautiful,
Mia.
by the way. Yeah. Zach will sing you happy birthday here in a little
Thank
bit.
you.
I'll for Mia, anything.
So, Amy, my co-host, let's talk. Ask Antonio from model's perspective and working with his talent. What do you look for with the model, or working with a project, or what do you ask for those that you work with? I guess.
I think that they have to be tailored to my style normally, so it doesn't matter if they're really beautiful or maybe most of the people that. And no offense to any models I've worked with before, because most of them are very, very beautiful. But yeah. I really like the look of somebody that that I think is beautiful, but maybe some frat guy might not go talk to in a bar,
right.
maybe. But I think that I hold beauty a little bit differently. So I saw some girl in a coffee shop recently. Her name's Monique. So thank you from Monique for taking my information. So she just hit me up recently, and I think she'd be perfect for my look and the things that I do. But it's not to say that I think that I can see the beauty in anybody. Naturally, I know I'm not an idiot. I know what beautiful is, and then what other people may perceive as beautiful. And it's tough to say, because a lot of people think that these models are perfect when they arrive. And again, no offense to anybody I've ever shot with, but models just aren't perfect when they show up. And I do, I get it. A lot of people post on Photoshop this is wrong and it's a lie and things like that. I use Photoshop a lot, but I don't want to confuse anybody either. So I want to let people know that models don't show up perfect. So what you're seeing is not exactly how somebody shows up day of the shoot.
Right.
Makeup and everything can't fix that. So I try to make them as perfect as possible in Photoshop. That's my aim always. But that's not how they show up. So don't be intimidated by that. If you're trying to get into modeling, just practice. I mean, it does take practice. You can't just show up pretty every time. You're not just a model just because you're pretty. That's just not the case at all.
I think the statement, beauty is true to the eye of the beholder, or something. I think, honestly, it's a true statement. I agree.
I think, completely, yeah.
I mean, if we were all gravitating towards the same person, what kind of world with the diversity would we be,
Right. And even with my photography, so I don't think that a lot of people would probably consider that beautiful. I do. I think it's extremely beautiful. That's just, my style. I think that it's very beautiful. But most people probably wouldn't. Or my videos, or where I like to take something that that is unassumingly beautiful and put it in maybe an Urban Decayed setting. If I was to shoot somebody in $1 million house, and then that's in the background, and then there's this beautiful model, then maybe you'll lose sight of the true beauty in the image. You'll say, oh, that's a beautiful, Instead, I'd probably go to that $1 million house and shoot in a dirt pile in the backyard so the model will really stand out.
I love that.
Absolutely. Folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Louisville Arts Live. We do it every Saturday at 3 o'clock. Amy Boyett, myself, Sean Gabriel. We have in the studio Mr. Antonio Pantoja, the one and only. And, sir, there's a quote out there. It says the winner in this life is not the one who owns things, is he who inspires people. And I think you do that on a constant and a regular basis. So I want to thank you for being in the studio and talking about your great artistic endeavors that you're working on. And how can folks stay up on what you're doing and follow your constant awards that just keep flooding in?
First, thank you so much. I keep telling Sean that I really just don't even deserve to be here. There's a lot better people that he could interview.
Oh my gosh.
Way more better people.
Ridiculous.
If that was the case, we wouldn't have a show, sir.
Right.
I'm just letting you know.
There's
We're
better
friends
people.
on Facebook, Antonio. Like, I've seen your stuff.
Yeah.
No, there's
Get
better
over it.
people
You're
at
good.
my
You
house.
just are.
I won a couple of awards for like best photographer in like Louisville or Kentucky or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not even the best photographer in my house. My wife does this too. She's better than me. So thank you guys so much for having me on board, and I'm just proud to be here with Zach. And there's more talented people outside the window than me here. But just thank you so much. And you can find me on Facebook. It's just Antonio Pantoja. You might get my cinematography page, but I post a lot more personal things on my personal page. And I never post anything negative. So that way, and then www.antoniopantoja.com, Pantoja. Not with an S.
Well, folks,
Yeah.
if you have any questions for anyone, please feel free to call in 502-822-6116. Operators Kelly is standing by to take your call, and we'll field your questions on the air. We also have live in the studio Mr. Zach Longoria with the Zach Longoria